Hi guys! Today I'm going to be talking about all the books I read in January, which won't take very long because I only read three. But I read those three in the last week of January because I was determined that I needed to force myself to get out of my months long reading slump. So I may have only read three books, but I did cram them all into the last week. So, that's not too bad. Not that only reading three books a month is bad. I'm just saying for me that's a low number, but admittedly, I hadn't been reading for months. So, reading three was something. And I managed to hit all of my yearly challenges that I'm planning to do with those three books. So that was fun. So the first book that I read was The Story Girl by Ellen Montgomery. The reason I picked this one up is because I needed a book for Anne's Reading the Classics challenge for her 5-star prediction. Now, hang on. Okay, husband is at the grocery store and needed a verification code for my account to log into something, or from my phone. So I had to send that to him. The reason I picked The Story Girl is because I wanted to try to fit the Reading the Classics challenge to my 30 by 30 because most of those on there are classics. They're not all classics, but most of them are. So I figured I would try and use those to fit those prompts. So that was one I was like, okay, this one's one I can read quickly, and that also I think will be 5 stars. So, and it was. I really loved it. Not as much as Anne, but who loves Anne? Like, come on. Anne of Green Gables is just one of the best books ever. So, very few things are written as well as Anne of Green Gables. But it was still full of the whimsy and wonder of childhood that Ellen Montgomery is so great at. And yeah, I just really loved it. I did also really love how Sarah, the story girl, she almost feels like an ethereal being who just doesn't really fully exist or something. Like, I don't know. She was written very, very well. I really liked her. Yeah, so and that also I used to fit Chantel's Read Your Bookshop challenge because it has an article in the title. And I used it for Katie Paperbacks and Ponytails Winnie the Pooh challenge, the family story prompt. I think that's all I used it for. Trying to remember all the challenges I'm trying to do this year because for some reason I still want to do all the challenges even though I failed so miserably at them last year. Yeah. So then I read Love's Fortress by Jennifer Ulark. I'm gonna guess that's how you say her name. I don't really know. It's husband is calling. Hang on. Hubby needed to confirm some things for the grocery store. That's what happens when your husband goes grocery shopping without you. But I can't drive, and we don't want to take baby. She's so little. We don't want to take her out to the grocery store for sure. Like that's like the last place in the world we want her to be is the grocery store. So I just apparently get phone calls now, but that's okay. So anyway, Love's Fortress. I was really surprised by this one. So this is one of the Doors of the Past series, which means it's like a dual timeline. And I picked this up specifically for Jeanette at Jane Reads. Her Christian fiction challenge this month was a dual timeline and less than 1,000 ratings, I think. And this fit both. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll just read this one. We'll see. Because I've gotten down to most of the Doors of the Past that I have left. I've read a lot of them, and most of the ones that I have left I'm not as interested in. So I'm kind of like, I don't know about this for a lot of them. But this one was really good, actually, and really surprising. I gave it 4 stars. I expected to give it 3 because, okay, on the back. So basically, the girl in the modern timeline, her dad passes away, and she finds a book of Native American drawings in his stuff. She was estranged from her dad, so she didn't really know anything about this. And also, he had been convicted as an art forger. So she was like, I don't know if any of this is real, but he has. So she asked this museum curator guy to help her, that her dad was trying to sell it to or something. Anyway, she asked him to help her figure out what the heck these things are. And then, meanwhile, curator guy, so Danny is the girl and Brad is the guy. Brad, his 4-year-old niece, her parents have just been arrested, and so she needs a good home, a safe home. So he, of course, takes her in. And okay, first of all, really precious cute kid storyline. You know, I love the cute kid storylines, especially when it's like cute kid who snuggles up to a guy. Like I love this stuff. So yeah. So she's now living with him. And then, okay, funny thing that happens in that timeline. Also, at one point, she says that she wants to watch the Mado show because she means VeggieTales, and I thought that was really precious. And then the past timeline, this is the part that made me go, I don't know about this. The past timeline is it's about a woman and her fiance. They want to go be missionaries, but they haven't been able to raise the funding for it because people don't believe he can because he has a stutter. The fiance has a stutter. And so the churches don't really want to support them because they're like, I don't know about that. And then her dad is also a judge, and her dad is just a piece of work. But they're living in St. Augustine, Florida, and then a bunch of Indians from the plains are transported to the fort in St. Augustine, Florida, to be held there. Like they lost, like there was a battle, they lost, they're transported there to be held while their families are being moved to a reservation. And so there is also an Indian guy that we get the point of view from in that timeline. I was afraid that this author would go full on, like I was afraid based on the back, including both of those characters, including that specific kind of storyline, I was afraid that the author would go full on America Bad. And I guess spoilers sort of, but not really. It didn't. It was a very nuanced take. And I really it showed that there was some good to the Native American, the Indian culture, but it wasn't also saying that therefore the white people are all bad. And that was what I expected. This was a really fun read because it did not go that way. But yeah, enjoyed it. 4 stars, pretty good. And I also used this for Oshina's Reading Christian Romance Challenge, the dual POV, because apparently I learned last year that can be harder than you think. So I went with that one. I was like, let's go ahead and fill this one in because I know, even though I think we technically, now that I think about it, there were 3 different POVs, so maybe I can't use it for that prompt. I might still use it because it's a dual timeline. I may cheat a little and use it for that. No, 4 times. Okay, I may change it then and just use it to cover a different prompt because technically there were 4 POVs. But it was a dual timeline. That's why my automatic thought was to put it there. Let's see. Wait, I could use the other book I read this month for that. Because I'm pretty sure it was just a dual POV. Yeah, I'll use the other book. I won't use this one for that at all. I think that was the only 2 challenges I covered with this book, which I'm not going to cover them all with it now. Yeah. Okay. Then I read... All right, so then I read on my Kindle a book that on my Kindle is called His Master's Daughter, but in print it's called The Guardian's Promise. I didn't realize these were the same book, but they are. So I read it thinking it was new to me, and I hadn't read this in years, so I didn't recognize it at all. I knew it was the same author, but I didn't know it was the same book. This is still, but yeah, so, because it had changed titles, so I didn't recognize that it'd be the same book, but it was. So yeah, this is biblical fiction set around the time of King Joash, not Josiah, the other child king, King Joash, and Queen Athaliah. And that's always been a Bible story that I have really loved. I remember even when I was a kid, that was one of my favorite stories. So I really enjoyed this, gave it 4 stars. Yeah, so the guy in this book is a temple guard. He was a temple guard, but he's like a Levite. He could have also been a priest, but he did not go down that path, or he at least had not yet. But he left all of that when Queen Athaliah killed her grandkids, but Joash was the last one to be able to escape. He was an infant. And so now Ari is the guy's name. He lives with Mira, the girl, and her family. He's an indentured servant to her father. And, but Mira and her family don't officially know. I think some people do. Like, I think her father kind of suspects something about this kid, but they don't know for sure that the kid is the king. But, things happen, and then Ari and Mira have to leave the village to go protect the king and keep him alive and keep him safe. First of all, obviously there's another cute kid. I'm a sucker for those storylines, so yeah. But also, protective guy, just really sweet story. Really enjoyed this one as well. 4 stars. I read this one for Kat over at Cat Stories, her biblical fiction. It says, okay, so this one is a little bit of a cheat, but I'm gonna count it. So on Goodreads, this is not listed as part of a series. But on my Kindle, it is. And there is a book that's like a sequel to this one that has like the point of view of Ari's brother. Like he's the male lead. So I'm going to count it as the first prompt. I did try to read a book about Eve for the first prompt. I deleted it from Goodreads because I read like 3 pages and I was like, oh, no, that's got bad theology. It seems like it's got very bad theology. I wouldn't have even known this was bad theology. But I learned about this. I think the author might be Mormon. And so, I don't want to read a biblical fiction, a clean historical fiction written by a Mormon. Maybe one thing. Biblical fiction, I am out. So thank you, Cheryl at Candlewick Library, for letting me know about this. It was a book about Eve, so there's a specific Mormon doctrine about Eve that this book seemed to be alluding to that I didn't know existed until Cheryl mentioned it. So appreciate that, Cheryl, for that heads up about that. And so I'm like, nope, gonna find something else. So this is a first in a series, so sort of, like I said, not on Goodreads, but on my Kindle. So I'm counting it. And then I also counted this for Alma's Journey Through Time. First prompt is biblical or ancient, so this fits. So I think that's all my challenges. I know that's all the books I read, but I think that's all my challenges. And yet I still managed to make this like a 10-15 minute video talking about 3 books. How did I make these videos shorter than an hour when I talk about like 20? We'll see whenever I have more to talk. I guess because I had less books to talk about, I felt more free to ramble. Anyways, so that is all that I read in January. What did you read in January? Let me know what your favorite book was. And hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye. Please like and subscribe. Bye.